Hello and welcome. Thanks for joining me tonight. I'm the Inappropriate Quilter, otherwise known as Zaza. I'm a bit rushed tonight because we just got home about 10 minutes ago, and I like to have a little bit more time to gather my bearings than that. Tonight, we're going to do week 2 of what to do, making fabric from scraps, tiny scraps. So here's some of the things that we did last week. And I've done the stitching. Last week I just stuck them down, and then during the week I did the stitching in between. And as I said, during the week you want the stitching to go over both pieces. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Look at what you can make with these things. But I'm just going to say hello to everybody. And Michelle was first as usual. Michelle's always first. Hi Michelle, welcome. Hi Melanie. Hi Shalom. Hi Sherry. Hi Giovanna. Happy birthday to your daughter, Giovanna. Hope she had a great day. Hi, KD. Hi, Sandy. Hi, Joanna. Hi, Sheila. Hi, Nikki. Hi, Linda. Well, shall we get on? Everybody's saying hello to everybody else. So how old's your daughter, Giovanna? Is she 26? Is that right? Or is that rubbish? That 26 popped into my head. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Brian. She's 27, so she was 26, so it wasn't completely out there. I'm sitting here, my stomach's sore tonight, so I'm sitting here with a hot water bottle. So if you hear weird gurgling, it's not my stomach, it's the hot water bottle. Hi, Deb. I've seen you tonight, unlike last week. I missed you coming in. So yes, this week it's all the things that you can do with these pieces. These are some of the bits that I did on Wednesday and last Saturday. And as you can see, they're all stitched up. These ones. What I will say with these is I wouldn't use them for anything that's going to need, oh hi Branka, a lot of washing. I would use them for things that don't really need washing. Wall hangings, or I wouldn't use them for pot holders or anything like that that's going to need regular washing, because I don't know how well they would hold up to that. But they're great for things, bookmarks, needle books. Hi Donnell. Hi Kathy. Welcome everyone. So it's the sort of thing that you wouldn't really wash. So the needle books that I did, which are still here, and I think that was week 2, would be perfect for that. I don't know about a pin cushion, because you've got the interfacing. If you were going to make a pin cushion with them, I would use the fabric interfacing, not the the woven interfacing, not the non-woven, because it's a bit thinner. I don't know how well your needles would do going through pins even. And I've left my pins at the other end of the house. Yeah, it's quite thick. These are thick pins and they're not as sharp as these ones, but I don't think it would go through. I don't think it would do your pins or needles that much good going through that. Here's one of my thin needles. See that? That's not bad actually. I would personally prefer it to be on the woven. This is the woven and it goes through no bother. I'll just tap my finger. So if you're going to do it and you want to make a pin cushion I would use the woven interfacing, but again, I would use them for things that you're not going to wash. Now, I would still back these with something, because most of the things that I would use, book covers, yes, great for book covers, tablet covers, wallets, you know, the little wallets that you make for gift cards going in, bookmarks, anything like that. They're perfect for even little zipper pouches. They're perfect for things like that that you wouldn't really wash. And you can make them any size you want. So really anything that you could use a piece of fabric for, you could use this. But again, think about washing. Because I mean, this is quite a good size, but project bags are another thing that would be good. The other thing is you can make bowls and things like that with them, which are quite good, you know, for your pins and your clips. And for that, I would use something like this Pellon 70 Peltex. It's a sort of mid to heavyweight stabilizer. And I think this one, because I haven't opened this one yet, is not my fabric scissors, is the adhesive one. I hope it's the adhesive one. And I'll let you see it. It's quite thick, it's like felt. A Peltex, Pellon Peltex 70. And it feels like felt, but it's stiffer than felt. And I can't see if that, I don't think that has got adhesive on it. I'm not sure. There's not an obviously shiny side, but it is quite, when you see there, the end on it's quite thick. And it feels like felt, but it's just a little bit stiffer. That's great for using with these for making things. Or you could use just actual felt. I've got some pieces here. And the good thing is, if you use coloured felt, which is quite nice, you technically don't need a back, you know, a piece of fabric on the back. That is your backing fabric. And you can coordinate it quite nicely with whatever you're doing. I don't think I'm going to get the roll back up to fit. So you could always, if this isn't an adhesive one that I've ordered, because I think at the time they didn't have the one I wanted. Yeah, that's not going back in there. I'm going to have to properly roll it up from scratch. Is just use a bit of heat and bond or something to attach them both together. I'm wrapping this up and putting it back in the plastic to keep it clean, so it does, because it's white, so it doesn't get all grubby. I hate when white things get grubby. I don't know what the rest of you think about things like that. Yeah, Christmas decorations, another thing. Anything like that. And the great thing is, if you put it onto something like this, which I don't actually know why I'm putting that away. I want something around it to stop it unraveling though. The tag of my scissors. Yeah, that'll hold it in places now. Is then when you cut it out, you don't need to sew it. You could do maybe a little blanket stitch round the edge. You could just do a straight stitch round it. But that's basically your finished piece. So you could just cut out and do whatever. Gift tags are another thing that you could do, postcards. Hi, Nikki. I think I've said hi to Nikki. You too, but Zaza. I don't know what that you mean by that, Joanna. Hi, Sean. Thanks for joining us tonight. So, yeah. This this one actually, for somebody that doesn't like scrappy, doing scrappy, I really like this one and how it turned out with the bright colours. But if you back that on with Heat and Bond to something like felt, you can cut out whatever. You could just use it like this and put on Heat and Bond. And I've got a whole pile, I think it was Wednesday I showed them, of cookie cutters. There's a rabbit. And you've got, I use these for my pottery as well as for baking. These are ones that would be good for Christmas. There's a hat and a jumper. There's a tulip. I've got Christmas trees, and of course, I had to have the Basset Hound. I've got 2 Basset Hounds and an extra long one. That one's technically a sausage dog, though, not a Basset Hound. But even just a star. If you've got acrylic templates, they're great. There's a butterfly, that could be really pretty. Mittens. These ones are good for Christmas fabrics. And then for all you American people, it's too late for the Canadians, I think. But for all you Americans, we've got some autumnal Thanksgiving ones. There's a pumpkin, a mushroom, an acorn. There's even a pie, look. There's the pie shape. I'll put it, I'll move the rabbit and you can see the pie. And there was a turkey too for Thanksgiving. And birds. They're cute. They would be cute as robins with Christmas winter fabric. There's a set of 3. But even just circle cookie cutters are good. For different shapes. I've got ovals here. They work. They're quite nice for things. Great for making decorations, but these are great for doing. There's a tiny, tiny jumper. These are great for doing applique, like badges on things to decorate them. So if you'd made a plain coloured zipper pouch with a solid fabric, you could cut out some of these. If you've got acrylic templates, here's some acrylic ones. You might not see them too clearly. That's a set of 3 hearts. And then I've got stars. And obviously, because of English paper piecing, I've got hexagons. The glitter washi tape, in case you're wondering, is great because it stops them sliding. It grips the fabric. And it doesn't, you just put it in the seam allowance, but it doesn't shed, bizarrely, glitter washi tape. And it works great for stopping templates or rulers slipping. But yeah, that's like a tongue twister. So quilty, Cheryl. I had to really think about that. Hi, Cheryl. Thanks for joining. So yeah, anything like that. But these are great to jazz things up a little bit. So as I say, if you make something plain with plain coloured fabric, you could then cut out different shapes and use them to decorate. And I've done that with a few things. You can do, if you had a nice denim jacket or something and you wanted it to look a bit nicer, you could do some, some of these little stars out of this crazy fabric. Would be quite nice on a denim bag or a denim jacket. A plain coloured zipper pouch, it would just add a pop of colour. If you're going to do the applique patches, I would make sure that you put Heat and Bond or something similar on the back, the one with the paper backing. Iron that on the back and then draw your shape onto the paper and then cut it out. I wouldn't want, I know technically the it shouldn't fray because it's already on interfacing, but it does just help. Sean's cutting fabric for another block. Don't know what block he is cutting, what he's working on. What have you all been working on today? I saw this afternoon there was a whole pile of you sewing at Deb's cottage on Discord, but I couldn't join. I had to go out tonight to a thing at the sailing club, which, to be perfectly honest, I could have seen far enough. I've got some heat and bond here. You know, sometimes when you've got to go out to something and you're just not at... This has got writing on it already. Because I was going to do a Halloween thing and then decided against it. So I am just going to cut this out. And these are my old fabric scissors. So I'm just going to cut this to size and then we'll iron it. Get it ironed down. But I always think when you're doing anything, I know it's just heat and bonds, but if you've got paper, don't use your best fabric scissors to cut out even just the paper backing, because it doesn't help them. But these fabric scissors were dirt cheap. They were £5 a pair, and they're from IKEA, and they were better than Fiskars. They held the edge better, they were sharper, they were more comfortable. I mean, these are still quite sharp. These are the very first pair I got, so they must be about 10 years old, and they're not completely blunt. They're not the sharpest, but they're not completely blunt. Just turn the iron on. And we'll get this ironed down in a second. And then they just... So I bought a couple of pairs, but the great thing I liked about these was because they were cheap, it wasn't the end of the world if one of the kids got their hands on them, or Norman, and cut out you know, something that ruined them because they were only £5. Hi, Joyty, you made it. I hope you didn't rush back. And I hope you had a nice time out with your friend for dinner. Hi, Terry. Hi, Danielle. Now you can chat. Don't know what you've been up to, but you can chat now. I'm just waiting on the iron heating up. Hi, Susan. A few of you just come in. So for those of you who don't know and are new to the channel, I've said that like I've been doing this for years. I live in Scottish, and I live in a little town near Edinburgh, Scotland. I've lived here nearly my whole life. It's only about half an hour, 40 minutes from Edinburgh. It's just across the water from Edinburgh. I live sort of 2 minutes from the beach, literally 2-minute walk. In fact, it probably wouldn't even take you 2 minutes. And when I go down the beach, you look out across the water to it's Edinburgh that you look out over because it's a river. It's technically the sea because it's the estuary. The salty water, tidal part of the river, it's at the bottom of the river, but it is still technically a river. So yeah, not far from St Andrews, not far from, you know, sort of an hour from Perth, an hour from Dundee, an hour from Glasgow, right, kind of bang in the middle. But have the best of both worlds. And I'm looking for a pen now. So, what shape will we go for this? Circles, stars, hearts, something fancy out the bag. Any suggestions? I think I might go for the hearts, actually. They're quite cute. Hearts, Giovanna's saying yes. I think hearts is the right thing. Kathy knows what it's like. Kathy was over in Scotland in the summer and we met up. So she's been very close to where I live. And the pen doesn't want to write on this because the paper's still warm. Maybe it's just the pen's running. No, there we go. It's writing on paper. There we go now. Could have just done this with a pencil. You could also quilt this. But as I said on Wednesday's live stream, if you were going to quilt it, I would quilt it before you did the extra stitching, so that the stitching actually quilted it. And I've got just the thing that I'm going to put these on. So you could just make these and keep them and have a whole pile of patches ready to go for when you had a project. You don't need to put them on a project straight away. You could just be kind of organised. I think I'm going to use pencil rather than that pen. Does anybody have any questions? Hi, Sandy. Has come in. So yeah, Sheila, Kathy did a whirlwind tour she did in the summer. And we had a great day out up the coast where I introduced her to Irn-Bru and fish and chips. And she was here with family and her husband, Bob, who's a great guy. And he quilts too. So it was really nice getting to actually physically meet in person with somebody that you chat to online. And that's one of the things that I'm most excited about going to QuiltCon, is actually getting to meet people in person. That, like all you guys that I speak to online, that I speak to in all the chats, getting to meet you in person is what I'm looking forward to the most. Susan, if you're ever able to go to Britain, you would love to visit Scotland, Ireland, places your mother's and your paternal grandmother's families came from, some as late as 1928 and as early as the 1800s. Donnell's got a question for me. What age did I start sewing, quilting? My granny started to teach me when I was about 7 or 8. I've actually got her still got her sewing machine that I learnt on, which was a 1937 Singer 201. And she just showed me how to use it and let me go, basically. And I made things for my dolls and just got to play. And then one day when I was going through stuff in her sewing box, I came across a tin that had hexagons in it. But she didn't call it English paper piecing back then. It was just patchwork. And I said, what's this? And I wanted to know all about it. So she showed me. So that was when I first learned how to do English paper piecing. But back in the day, she made her own cardboard templates that she cut her papers from using a compass and a ruler. And they were all perfect. And everything matched up. So yeah. And then I didn't really do any sewing apart from the odd, hemming a pair of trousers or stitching a button on something, because my mum can't sew at all. That was my paternal grandmother, I should say, that taught me to sew. My maternal grandmother had no patience even for us. She was very good at sewing, but my mum can't sew at all, because she would just say to my mum, oh God, give me that, you're hopeless, and do it for her. So my sister and I can both sew because we had to, because my mum's either would pay somebody to do it, or her version of, if you needed a pair of trousers taken up or anything, it was Wonderweb. Do you remember that stuff? It's like Bondaweb, but in the thin strips for hemming your trousers. And then once you wash them a couple of times, the hem would fall down. My mum was absolutely, she'd never been shown, and she wasn't particularly interested in it. So my sister and I can both sew, but I didn't, as an adult, I started to sew because it was soft furnishings, it was things for the house. I wanted things for the house that I couldn't afford to buy, making curtains and cushions and recovering things. It was more that kind of sewing that I did. Soft furnishings and things. And it was probably when my kids were about, it was probably my 30s. I made them both a quilt each. Evie had seen a quilt somewhere and she wanted one. So I made it, and the first quilt I made for her, it was made from old duvet covers and curtains, bedding, fabric. I didn't actually go out and buy fabric. It was sheets and duvet covers that I made the quilt with, and some denim from jeans. And then Christopher's quilt that I made him was all denim, and it weighs a ton. And my first sewing machine was a Brother, and it broke. It killed my brother's sewing machine. It was just a cheap one. And then gradually over the years, I've got more into quilting and sewing. But even now, I still like doing things like this and other crafty things, and but upholstery, and I'll still make curtains and cushions, and I don't just like sewing quilts. Hi, Melissa. I'll see what's happening in the chat, catch up a bit. Johanna's cut the fabric for 10 tablecloths, hemming tablecloths, Johanna. That sounds awful. See what everybody's up to. Yes, Sheila, I'm Scottish. Who knew? Joyty, I've lived nearly my whole, I just take it for granted living near the beach. It's funny, I don't think I could live inland. Nikki, it is a beautiful country, but is one of those things that you take it for granted, and we always think where other people stay is nicer than where we stay, and yet there's beautiful places everywhere. I would like it better if we had nicer weather. Joyty, we had a drought this summer. The grass in my bathroom was grass in my bathroom. Chris was in the bathroom, I just heard him. That's why I said that. The grass in my garden was brown from lack of rain this summer, believe it or not. I had hose pipe bans and things. So, yeah. Hi, Teresa Louise. Thanks for joining. Nikki, what have you done to your neck? Or you've given yourself a neck ache doing those flying geese? Were you hunched over your sewing machine doing them? Flying geese are not my favourite. Have you got something to put on your neck ache? Some deep heat or something, or ice heat pads or something? I'm not a fan of ice packs. I know ice packs are supposed to be good for things like that, but I am not a fan of ice packs. Hi, Mary. Welcome. Thanks for coming. Thanks, Joyty. Sorry, Danielle, you weren't here at the beginning. Last week, I did making fabric from scraps. So it was just tiny little scraps. And I've got a big jar that I keep tiny, tiny little scraps in, which I will show you in a second. So this is my jar of tiny scraps, and some of them are tiny. But sometimes it's fabrics that I like, and I don't want to bin them. So from all these tiny little scraps, I made some things, and I just put them on interfacing. Iron on interfacing, stuck them all down like a jigsaw puzzle. And these ones are just the shapes that they came. I'm trying to get on the camera. The shapes that they came. But I also said how you can cut out shapes. So I did some hexes and triangles and some diamonds. And some of them are just strips, if you've got strips of fabric. And then a decorative stitch to hold them down. So this one, I was saying the decorative stitch you want one that goes off both sides, so it goes onto both pieces of fabric. You don't just say want a blanket stitch. You want a two-sided stitch. I think like the one, is it called the turkey foot, which is like this, and things. So there's all different decorative stitches. Any decorative stitch, as long as both, you'll see quite clearly on this one, as long as it's going on to both pieces of fabric, just to kind of secure it down. So that was what we did last week, and this week is what can you do with this stuff. And I was saying basically anything that you would use a piece of fabric for, but I would avoid anything you have to wash, because something you have to wash, I don't know how well it would stand up, and it might fray a bit. But yeah, you could, needle books, zipper pouches. I was saying if you were going to make a pincushion, I would use woven interfacing. And if I was going to do something for clothing, if I was going to cut out something and applicate it onto clothes, then I would probably use woven interfacing because it's softer than non-woven. So that's... Sheila, it is amazing what you can do with a bit of thread. A needle and some fabric. There's Mary. Yes, Joy T would talked about that during the week because I kept missing people's comments and things. Like Ian, the off-kilter crafter, Ian says, if you've got any questions for me, if you type them in caps or do the at the inappropriate quilter, then it will highlight it for me to see. Because sometimes if you're all chatting to each other, it's difficult for me to see what you're saying to me and what you're saying to each other. Hi, Joanna. Melissa, hi, Melissa. You won a £15 Amazon gift card on the Butler Family Farm channel. Oh, have you decided what you're going to spend your $15 on? So yeah, congratulations, Melissa. Hi, Millie. Welcome. I'm just trying to Hi, Misty. You're not late, you're here. Nobody's late. You don't get in trouble for being late. Hi, Holly. I'm just glad you made it. There is no such thing as being late. Doesn't matter when you come in. So yes, so tonight I'm saying you can just use these even for little applique patches to put on things. You know, a jacket, a bag, whatever. And tonight I'm taking the easy option at the moment because I was out and now I can't find them. That's not the view you really wanted to see of me, but hey ho, there it is. I can't get the drawer open because my ironing table's in front of it. Right. I bought these off Amazon. It's a packet of plain zipper pouches, just canvas ones. It was a 12 pack. Now, my Amazon is different from your Amazon, but I'm sure your Amazon will have them too. And see if you do something like that, and you can just iron these on. And then with these ones, obviously because the zipper pouch is already made, I would probably I might do another big one. Hand stitch it on would be easier than trying to get this onto my sewing machine. You might even get away with not doing that, but I don't know, and I don't know if I would want to say you don't need to stitch it down, because stitching it down would probably be the sensible thing. Might just fit this big one on. Would that be too big? No, it's not too big for the zipper pouch. So you could make a tote bag, and you could either use for a decorative pocket on the tote bag, or you could decorate the tote bag if you did it in a plain colour. I mean, this one here would probably look like great on a black background because it's nice and bright. And you could do, tote bag or anything like that. Anything that you would use applique on, this would work. But you can really use these fabric panels for, we were saying earlier, anything that you would use fabric, but avoid things that would require a lot of washing. I wouldn't make coasters or mug rugs, or pot holders, those kind of things. But project bags, purses, wallets, glasses cases, needle books, anything like that would work quite well. That one there. So yeah, you see, you can just shove them wherever. I think that big one's too big for this. Stick with the small ones. I think I'll do another one that size. I think that's a better size. And I think I might just have enough of this to do it. And I always want to sort of ram it in as tight as possible so that I can get the most out of the fabric. And the great thing about this is if you use Girl Maths, this is free fabric because you've already paid for it and you've already used it on a project. So it's technically free. Bookmarks, that's another great thing you could make with this. Dishes, little fabric bowls and things for your clips. Little gift bags, anything like that. Fabric postcards. If you wanted to quilt it, you would quilt it before you do the decorative stitching. I would put the batting down, then this, then I would do the decorative stitching so that it would hold it in place. There. How about that? That bit's annoying me. That's what's wrong. Because this one's squished a bit. There. Like that. I like this one. Those three are too much green. Too samey. Bit contrast. They're all green. There's a lot of green in this. See if we can get a nice coloured bit. This is sort of, there's not a lot of stitching there. I'm going to use this one. Yes, see, that's nice. It's got a bit pink in it. Those two are too similar. And because they're both green and then yellow, green and yellow. You might want that though, but I quite like that. This iron's still hot. Now I just have to peel the back off and stick them down. So I might not even bother top stitching this and see how it lasts. Because if it's not getting washed, it might be fine. I'll take one for the team and let you know how it works out. I'm going to get a pin to get this paper off. I hate taking the paper off. But I do like applique, and as I say, you can choose whatever. You could do patches on something to repair it, if it had a tear in it, or nice little decorative patch. You could make fabric brooches with them. I was saying, if you were going to do bowls or something, this is Peltex 70. And it's like a thick felt, but it's quite stiff. And that would be quite good for things that you wanted to structure with. So like fabric bowls and things like that. This would work well with them. I've done fabric bowls with a similar type of stabilizer and it worked well. Because they just allow them to hold their own shape. Stand up, they don't collapse. Stand up by themselves. This bit's needing a bit of a press. Not quite stuck down properly. I'll let it cool down. That one's been done. And this one's about to be done. Yeah, magnets are, you know, you would just stick it onto a piece of card. Or if you had, you know, if you've bought magnets and you've got old ones that you don't really like anymore, that are just rectangles, you could just take the fabric and glue it onto that. But magnets work. Lots of things you could do. Really, the only limit is your imagination. It's just a bit fun. I was saying last week, sometimes I don't want to sew, I don't want to quilt, I don't want to have to follow the rules and cut things out and stick to a pattern. I just want to do something random and just let my brain see where it'll take me. Be creative. That's still annoying me, that bit. And I should move this and move all this pile of stuff so that you can actually see what I'm doing. That would be better for everybody, wouldn't it? Rather than you seeing my arm in front of the screen. Oh, Susan, I'm sorry you cut fabric when you were tired. Strip sets should have been 3.5 times 3.5. Instead, the background was a 1/2 inch too narrow. Oh, I've done that before as well. That's actually my weak point, is cutting fabric. That's where I make the most mistakes, is cutting fabric. So I feel your pain there, Susan. And I do. I'm probably melting the zip on these. So I hope I'm doing better tonight reading the chat. And keeping up with you all. Does anybody have any questions? Hi Gladys, nice of you to join me tonight. Join us all here. Hi Cheryl, nice of you to join us too. If I've missed anybody, I'm sorry. If I have already said hello to you and I do it again, I'm sorry too. My brain is mince, as they say. That's not a bad wee project. A decorative little zipper pouch. How quick and easy was that? You can always put another one on that side, but you could do somebody's, you could cut, if you had letters, you could cut out somebody's name and personalise it with a little heart or something. But there's a nice little zipper pouch. Quick and easy with that, with just cutting out these from, and I'll get another couple out of that bit, I think. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Yes, Holly, it's great for doing your own patches for a denim jacket. I mean, you could fussy cut fabric and have it all fussy cut things. So say you had fabric that, I don't know, say you liked a certain flower or something, and you had calf facet that had flowers, or can't think of her name now. One of the other quilters that does all the flower fabric. You could do that and fussy cut all the flowers and overlap them. I got the idea from Rain Vermont, and I forgot to link it tonight, and linked it in last Saturday's live. And it's spelled Rain as in reigning monarch, REIGN, not as in rain as in weather. Rain Vermont. She has a great channel on YouTube, and she did ones with that she did. It was bigger scraps, but she had all calf facet scraps, and she did a blue one, and it was all the different blues and sort of purples and things. And then she did a red one that was all the pinks and reds and oranges of calf fabric. And I don't know why I peeled the backing off that. Hold on a moment. She I might just stick that back on. And then she zigzagged it, but she's also got and I've never seen one before. It's not a sewing machine, it's a felting machine. You know when people do wool felting? She's got a felting machine, and it looks like a sewing machine, but it needle felts. And she put the batting in, and then all the fabric on top of the batting, and she was needle felting the fabric as she was going. So that was brilliant. So it was from her I got this idea of just using scraps and then doing the decorative stitch. And she's made bowls and things. The only thing I did feel is when she made her bowl, and I did say this to her because the fabric she made was beautiful, where she did the bowl was both sides with the fabric that she made, whereas nobody really sees the underside of the bowl. So I would have made the underside in a plain colour and kept the nice fabric that you would see for the bowls, but she made quite a few things like that, and they're gorgeous. So that was where I got the idea. You should check her out on YouTube. Oh, Nikki wants to finish her chickadee panel quilt. So yeah, Holly, it's great for doing patches, making your own patches. Bob said to tell, oh, 108-inch cutting mistake today. I take it he was cutting backing. What on earth did he do, Kathy? Is it fixable? Danelle's almost finished with her Halloween quilt, and she's hoping to show it off on Wednesday because she's back to doing her Wednesday lives. It was Rain Vermont is the name. Yes, Nikki. REIGN. Vermont, as in, I think Vermont's a state, an area. So, and she's on YouTube. I did post a link in last week's live. So if you look up making fabric from scraps, week 1, it's in the description there, the link to her channel. I forgot to do it tonight because I was out. And, but yes, so that's just a basic thing, and I've been yapping. So you can, as I said earlier, but the people that have come in later, you can use felt and back it straight on. I would again use something like Heat and Bond, and you could put this straight onto a piece of felt and make something with it. And cut the felt out, and you could do bookmarks, you could do little gift tags, you could make lanyards, holders, you know, if you've got a name badge. Hi, Tasha. You can make loads of things with this. Just your imagination is your limit. Needle books, pin cushions, whatever. Book covers. Those pouches that everybody was making for a while, and I can't remember the name of them. Joanna, you spent 2.5 hours cutting out 10 tablecloths for your sister. I hope she appreciates that. Yeah, I wouldn't be hemming them tonight either. Yes, Nikki, the stuff you made and sent to Liana was beautiful. Hemingway pouches, that's the one, Joyty. Hemingway pouches. You could use something like this to make a Hemingway pouch. Or, you know, a tablet cover, a book cover even. And that's the other thing. If you've got, and I've got some here, and I can quickly show you in different sizes. If I can get them out the drawer. I'm trying not to drop the hot water bottle. Obviously, this is quite a nice one, but this is just a plain one. If you've got a little notebook, you could make a cover for the notebook, and you could actually just stick the fabric. You could just glue it straight on, cut it. You know, a no-sew notebook cover. But something like that, you could make, because this is a handmade notebook, you could make your own notebooks and stick this straight onto your outer cover and then stitch it yourself. And that would be quite a nice gift. You could do a pen holder, you know, the little pouches that go on notebooks. All those kind of things you can make with this stuff. It's just, as I say, something that when you want to do something creative, but you don't necessarily want to sew a quilt. That's right, Joyty. You could make them for a local charity, Nikki. I'm sure they would be desperate to get their hands on the stuff that you made because it was so nice. Hi, Jacqueline. Hello from Oklahoma. Well, hello from Scotland. It's nice to see you here tonight. He accidentally made 2 17-inch strip by width of fabric, and it was only supposed to be 1. Oh. Well, I suppose at least he did cut it. I know he cut an extra one, but at least he didn't cut a 16-inch strip. That would have been worse. So, I mean, you could even do little key fobs. You know, when people make the key fobs, this would be perfect for making key fobs. And you could make a little key wallet things. So anything like that. Bookmarks. I will be doing more things over the coming weeks, but tonight I just thought I'd just show you how quick and simple that was to do. And it's quite effective. And I say last week we did all the fabric pieces, but those little book marks, you could, you know, just do the little thin, long bookmarks, but you also do the ones that are folded corner ones. You cut out 2 hearts and you bigger, you would be this size heart, probably the middle one, but you have 2 hearts and you half stitch them together. I would probably back it onto something like felt for that, and you half stitch them together so that and I've put the notebooks back in the corner, and then it goes over the corner of the page. It slides into the book like that, and it keeps your page. They work like that. That would be quite good. Or there was the ones that just look like HSTs that are folded but they're that way. And it sits on your book. So that would be the open size. You would have two triangles, and so that edge, and that would be open. And you slide that on. So there's loads of things you can make. I will expect to see some popping up, things that you've done. No, I'm only joking. But yeah, that one was fun. But fabric, that, I think I'm going to make a fabric bowl with that, a little tray. And I think I'm going to make it a hexagonal tray. Because that's quite a nice shape. I don't know where I've got this dark thread from that it's picked up. But because it's already a hexagon, I think I'm going to make that one into a little hexagonal tray for something. Pins, jewellery, whatever. They're great for gifts as well at this time of year, because they're great not just for people that sew as gifts, but which they're good for gifts because, a little dish for your clips or something, but not for people that sew to on somebody's dressing table or something to put their earrings in, or if it's a guy, their cufflinks or their keys, or anything like that. And I do have one thing to show you tonight that the small angry one got me last week. She brought it when she came over this week. Christmas decoration that she got for me. She saw it when she was out. It's a reel of thread with a tape measure and scissors. How cool is that? To go with all the other crazy things I've got on my Christmas tree. She did see a sewing machine, but she said it wasn't as nice as the sewing machine decorations I've already got. But she thought that was cool. The spool with the tape measure and the scissors. Hi, Alex. So that was what I got this week. And I thought, I must remember and show you. And I did. So that's quite good. Because it's not like me to remember things. Normally I come off the live and then I thought, bugger, I forgot that. So yeah, that's my day. So what people been up to? Have you been out and about and doing things? And I could hear there was fireworks going off in various places tonight. Hopefully that's the end of it for people that have animals that don't like fireworks. We were lucky. The hounds, none of the hounds that we've ever had have bothered about fireworks. But my sister had a lab and he was a gun dog and he came from working stock. And he was just a nervous wreck with the noise from fireworks, an absolute wreck. The poor thing, and it didn't matter what you did. And she tried those thunder coats, and he was bad with thunder and lightning as well, I will say. But she tried the thunder coats, and it didn't matter what she did. He was just an absolute wreck. And it was awful to see him be in that state. So I do sympathise with people that have pets that don't cope well with thunder and lightning or fireworks. Today was your 11th wedding anniversary. The hub surprised me with dinner and I ate too much, and now you need a nap. Well, how nice is that? Congratulations. Happy anniversary, Tasha. 11 years. You're just a baby. 11 years. Susan, you were on Ian's Zoom. Yeah, I missed that because I had to go out tonight. I was quite annoyed that I had to go out and miss the Zoom because I was looking forward to it. I was hoping to be back in time, but I didn't make it. Nikki, Leo, and Walter hate fireworks and thunder and lightning. Yeah, it's awful because they don't understand. Tasha had scallop scampi. Oh, that sounds nice. That's quite adventurous. I take it your husband's quite a good cook, Tasha. Or did you go out to dinner? He didn't make you dinner, he took you out to dinner. Tasha, 11 years only feels like a long time for you just now, but I'm at 28 years. So 11 years isn't that long for me. Yes, scallops sounds nice. I like scallops. So I hope you've had a lovely anniversary. What did I have for dinner? What did I have for dinner? Oh, we had a buffet at the thing tonight. I'm thinking I didn't have dinner. What did I have? It was a buffet at the thing tonight. So it was sandwiches, and it was either everything was in bread or everything was in breadcrumbs. It was all either chicken things or it was wraps or sandwiches or rolls. Or Sean, you'd have been quite happy actually. There were sausage rolls and pies. And I know you're partial to a sausage roll, Sean. Hi, Ellen. Thanks for joining. We're just winding down. Hi, Donna. You're trying to make tortillas, the actual flour tortilla you're trying to make. Homemade ones are nice. What did Mary say that Tasha's asking if they still like each other? I need to find out what she said. What Mary said. 51 years. Oh, well done, Mary. I'm 50, so you've been married for longer than I've been alive. That is some achievement, especially in this day and age. Can't imagine being married to somebody for 50 years. Yes, Sheila, you don't want a bad scallop. That's not a nice thing to happen if you have a bad scallop. Jacqueline, I'm sorry, that must be awful. When that happens, when you're widowed like that. Hi, Becky. And I think I said hello to Ellen. So yes, you still like each other. Well, that's an even better achievement. You were 18 and he was 22. Wow. I was 22 when I got married. So yes, so that's that. That's my Saturday. That's what I've been up to today. Out at the sailing club for that thing tonight. I had the buffet dinner. I was driving. I said to Norman, he said he would drive, but he doesn't really drink, and he never does with things like that. Because usually, because I can't drive far, he normally drives, and it's just all on the road. So I said, no, you can have a drink tonight, and I will drive, because I only ever have one anyway, if that. Oh, Jacqueline had COVID. I'm sorry. That's awful. That happened to a friend of mine. Good night, Tasha. You go and enjoy the rest of your anniversary with your husband. Ellen's at 47 years married. You're not too far behind, no. Well, Jacqueline, I hope you had 45 happy years with your husband, because some people don't get anything like that. So I know that's not much of a consolation, but I hope you did at least have a nice time together. So I'm going to say good night to y'all. I've gone over. It's 1:10. I normally try and stick to the hour. So I'd like to thank y'all for joining me tonight. It's been fun. There's not been much inappropriateness at all. But try and be appropriately inappropriate. Make someone smile. Make their day. As always, it's my inappropriateness. There is no malice meant. It's all in good fun, just meant to be light-hearted fun. I think if you kind of stick to that, then people usually know that you're just having fun. Laugh with somebody, not at them, as they say. Hi, Candace. You've come on just at the very end, but thank you for joining us. I'm just about to sign off tonight. So I will see you all in the chats, probably with Lisa and Deb tomorrow at 7. Good night, everybody. Thanks again. Bye.